China just confirmed what NASA has been desperately trying to hide. And the truth about 3I/ATLAS is far more alarming than anyone imagined. In a classified briefing that was leaked to international media, Chinese space officials revealed findings about Atlas that completely shatter the interesting interstellar comet narrative we've been fed for months. According to China's analysis, ATLAS isn't just artificial, it's actively hostile. And it's been preparing for something catastrophic since the moment it entered our solar system. The leaked briefing documents contain evidence that ATLAS has been deploying weapons systems, establishing attack positions, and systematically mapping Earth's defensive capabilities. This isn't a scientific expedition or peaceful first contact. According to China's assessment, this is reconnaissance preceding invasion. NASA detected the same evidence weeks ago. They chose to classify it and hoped the situation would resolve quietly. China decided the world deserves to know what's really approaching Earth, and what they've confirmed is absolutely terrifying. Before we break down exactly what China discovered and why it's worse than any scenario we've been preparing for, hit that subscribe button and drop a like, because this information could save your life in the coming weeks. Atlas isn't the fascinating mystery scientists have been studying. It's the advance wave of something far larger, far more organized, and far more dangerous than anyone publicly acknowledged. And we have less time than we thought. The leaked briefing documents lay out China's findings in devastating detail, and every piece of evidence points toward the same nightmare scenario. ATLAS is a military asset conducting pre-invasion operations. China's analysis confirms that Atlas has deployed over 200 objects throughout the solar system over the past 8 weeks. NASA characterized these as scientific probes or observation instruments. China's assessment is far darker. These are weapons platforms establishing strategic positions. The deployment pattern isn't random. Each object positions itself at locations that provide optimal coverage of Earth's orbital space. Together, they create an overlapping network that gives Atlas, or whatever controls it, complete surveillance and engagement capability across Earth's entire orbital path. A military space analyst who reviewed the leaked documents described the pattern. This is textbook orbital bombardment positioning. You place assets at specific coordinates that maximize your ability to strike any point on the planet's surface while maintaining defensive coverage against counterattacks. Atlas has spent 2 months building exactly that kind of network. The objects aren't just passive sensors either. China's spectroscopic analysis reveals they contain dense metallic cores surrounded by high-energy power systems. That's the signature of kinetic weapons, objects designed to be dropped on targets at high velocity, releasing enormous destructive energy on impact. But the weapons deployment is only part of what China confirmed. Atlas itself has been systematically mapping Earth's defense infrastructure. Every time it transmits those electromagnetic signals we've been trying to decode, it's simultaneously conducting active radar scans of Earth's surface. China tracked Atlas's scanning patterns over 3 weeks. The object focused intensive attention on military installations, nuclear facilities, communications hubs, power grid infrastructure, and satellite ground stations. It wasn't conducting general scientific observation, it was identifying critical targets. An intelligence analyst explained what that means. Atlas is building a target database. It's identifying which installations to strike first to cripple Earth's ability to coordinate defense. Power grids, communications, command centers, these are day one targets in any invasion scenario. Atlas has been systematically cataloging them all. Perhaps most damning, China detected ATLAS testing Earth's response capabilities. On 3 separate occasions, ATLAS released small objects on trajectories that brought them close to military satellites. Each time, defense networks tracked the objects but took no action. Atlas was probing our defenses, seeing what triggers responses and what doesn't. China's analysis of the objects Atlas deployed reveals capabilities that are frankly terrifying. These aren't primitive kinetic impactors. They're sophisticated weapons systems using technology we can barely comprehend. Each deployed object generates powerful electromagnetic fields that China's analysis suggests could disable electronics across hundreds of miles. If activated simultaneously, the 200-plus objects positioned around Earth could create electromagnetic pulses that would fry every unshielded electronic system on the planet. Imagine every computer, every phone, every power grid, every satellite suddenly going dark. No internet, no communications, no electricity, no way to coordinate defense or evacuation. That's what ATLAS has positioned itself to do with a single command. But the electromagnetic capability is just the beginning. The objects also appear capable of directing focused energy beams, essentially space-based lasers or particle beam weapons. China detected test firings from several objects aimed at asteroids and space debris. The targets were vaporized instantly. A weapons systems engineer who reviewed China's data described the implications. We're looking at directed energy weapons with power outputs that exceed anything in Earth's arsenal by orders of magnitude. One of these objects could destroy a city from orbit. 200 of them could wipe out every major population center simultaneously. The kinetic threat is equally severe. Each object massed between 10 and 50 tons and positioned in orbits that could drop them on Earth's surface within hours of receiving attack orders. At orbital velocities, even a 10-ton object hits with the force of a nuclear weapon. Atlas has positioned the equivalent of hundreds of nuclear-level impacts ready to be deployed. China's tracking also revealed that these objects are networking. They communicate with each other constantly, creating a distributed command system where destroying some doesn't disable the network. It's exactly how you design a resilient weapons array meant to survive counterattacks. But perhaps the most chilling finding, the objects are autonomous. They're not receiving constant commands from ATLAS. They're making decisions independently, following pre-programmed protocols, ready to execute attack sequences without further orders. That means even if we somehow destroyed ATLAS itself, these weapons remain active and capable. We'd need to eliminate 200-plus independently operating weapons platforms scattered across Earth's orbital space, a task far beyond our current capability. China's analysis of ATLAS itself reveals capabilities that make it far more dangerous than its deployed weapons network. The main object appears to be a mobile command platform with offensive capabilities of its own. Atlas's propulsion system is unlike anything human engineers have conceptualized. China's observations show it can accelerate to speeds approaching 50,000 miles per hour and decelerate just as rapidly, all with no visible exhaust or thermal signature. That suggests a propulsion technology based on physics we don't understand, possibly manipulating gravity or space-time itself. That kind of propulsion makes Atlas virtually impossible to target. Our fastest missiles would take hours to reach its current position, during which Atlas could easily relocate. Intercepting something that can accelerate harder than anything we've built is effectively impossible with current technology. But Atlas's defensive capabilities extend beyond just speed. China detected what appears to be an active defense system, energy fields that deflect incoming objects, and charged particle beams that could destroy missiles or projectiles approaching the object. A defense contractor who reviewed the analysis made a grim assessment. Atlas appears invulnerable to anything we could throw at it. Kinetic weapons? It can dodge or intercept them. Nuclear weapons? The same. Directed energy? It has shielding we can't penetrate. We're looking at a target we literally cannot hit with existing weapons. Atlas's offensive capabilities are equally formidable. The same directed energy systems that provide defense can be turned toward offensive purposes. China detected Atlas test firing what appeared to be a high-powered beam weapon at a small asteroid. The asteroid, roughly 100 meters across, was completely vaporized. If Atlas can vaporize a 100-meter asteroid from millions of miles away, it can certainly destroy anything on Earth's surface it chooses to target. Cities, military bases, infrastructure, all vulnerable to weapons we can't defend against from a platform we can't destroy. China's briefing also confirms that ATLAS is part of a larger system. The transmissions Atlas sends aren't just local communications with its deployed objects. Some appear directed toward deep space, possibly communicating with additional assets or reporting back to whoever sent it. That means Atlas might not be alone. There could be additional objects already in our solar system that we haven't detected yet, or reinforcements on the way that will arrive shortly after Atlas completes its reconnaissance phase. The leaked documents describe this as multi-phase operation, with ATLAS representing Advanced Reconnaissance and Infrastructure Deployment. In military terms, that means Atlas is the scouting force preparing for a main invasion fleet. China's confirmation transforms Atlas from a fascinating scientific mystery into an immediate existential threat. And it reveals that everything we thought we knew about this situation was wrong. For months, the narrative has been cautiously optimistic. Yes, ATLAS is unusual. Yes, it might be artificial. But probably it's just explorers or scientists from another world studying our solar system. First contact might be challenging, but fundamentally, it would be a positive, transformative event for humanity. China's analysis destroys that hopeful narrative. Atlas isn't here to study us peacefully. It's here to conquer, exploit, or eliminate us. The weapons deployments, the target mapping, the defensive positioning, these are acts of war, not science. Every day we spent debating whether Atlas was natural or artificial was a day Atlas used to strengthen its position. Every week, NASA downplayed the threat was a week Atlas deployed more weapons and mapped more targets. We've been studying a fascinating mystery while it prepared to attack us. An astropolitical analyst described the strategic disaster. Imagine if during World War II, we'd spent months arguing about whether incoming bombers were really hostile or just foreign aircraft conducting scientific observations. By the time we acknowledged the threat, they'd already positioned themselves for devastating strikes. That's exactly what's happened with ATLAS. The confirmation also means our defensive posture is catastrophically inadequate. We've positioned Atlas as a distant scientific curiosity, not an immediate military threat. Our defensive assets aren't deployed to counter it. Our response protocols aren't activated. Our civilian population isn't prepared for what might be coming. China's briefing apparently triggered emergency military repositioning. Their documents reference activating full defensive posture and mobilizing strategic deterrent capabilities, which likely means nuclear weapons. Russia followed with similar mobilizations. Other nuclear-capable nations are quietly doing the same. But here's the terrifying reality. Nuclear weapons probably won't help. Atlas has positioned itself beyond effective range of most delivery systems. Its defensive capabilities likely include detecting and intercepting nuclear missiles. And using nuclear weapons in space creates debris fields that threaten our own satellites and infrastructure. We're facing a threat that's immune to our most powerful weapons, has established commanding positions throughout our orbital space, and has been preparing for this confrontation while we debated its intentions. That's a nightmare scenario with no good solutions. The timing is also deeply concerning. China's analysis suggests Atlas is approaching the end of its preparation phase. The countdown sequences in its transmissions, the increased activity of deployed objects, the intensifying reconnaissance scans, all indicate something is about to happen. China's briefing documents reveal something equally disturbing. NASA detected most of this evidence weeks ago. They knew ATLAS was deploying weapons, they knew it was mapping military targets, they knew it represented a threat, and they chose to classify everything and maintain the interesting comet story. The leaked Chinese documents include references to communications between Chinese and American space agencies. In multiple exchanges, NASA officials acknowledged detecting the same weapons signatures and hostile behavior that China described. But they argued for continued classification to avoid public panic and maintain stability. A crisis communications expert explained what that reveals. NASA made a calculated decision that society couldn't handle the truth about ATLAS. Rather than preparing people for potential invasion, they chose to keep everyone ignorant while hopefully finding solutions behind closed doors. That gamble has now failed spectacularly. NASA apparently believed they could negotiate with or disable ATLAS before the threat became public. They thought they had time to develop countermeasures or establish communication that would resolve the situation peacefully. China's confirmation reveals how badly NASA miscalculated. The weapons deployments happened faster than NASA anticipated. Atlas's capabilities exceeded their projections, and the timeline for whatever Atlas is planning compressed to the point where quiet solutions are no longer possible. NASA's strategy of secrecy and delay has left us dangerously unprepared. Internal NASA communications in the Chinese documents show desperate attempts to downplay the threat even as evidence accumulated. When Atlas deployed those first objects, NASA characterized them as interesting phenomena requiring further study. When the objects took up weapons positions, NASA called it unusual but not necessarily hostile configuration. Even now, with China publicly confirming the threat, NASA remains largely silent. No press conferences explaining the situation, no emergency briefings for Congress, no public warnings about potential dangers. They're apparently still hoping the situation will somehow resolve without admitting how badly they misjudged ATLAS. But the strategy of downplaying and delaying has real costs. Emergency preparations that should have started months ago are only beginning now. Response protocols that require coordination across multiple agencies and nations are being developed under extreme time pressure. And the global population remains largely unaware that invasion might be imminent. A national security analyst described the failure. NASA had one job: monitor space threats and inform appropriate authorities. They detected a clear and present danger and chose to hide it instead of sounding the alarm. That's not cautious scientific methodology, that's negligent endangerment of the entire planet. While governments scramble to respond to China's revelations, Atlas continues its operations, and its current behavior suggests we're running out of time. Atlas has moved to a new position approximately 130 million miles from Earth, roughly 30% closer than its previous location and closing steadily. At current acceleration, it will reach optimal strike distance within 4 to 6 weeks. The deployed weapons objects have begun activating. Multiple tracking networks have detected power signatures increasing across the network. Objects that were dormant are now showing energy outputs consistent with weapons systems coming online. They're preparing for something. The electromagnetic transmissions have also changed character dramatically. What were periodic broadcasts are now nearly continuous emissions. The content has shifted from what appeared to be exploratory communications to structured command sequences, orders being distributed throughout the network. A signals intelligence analyst who reviewed recent transmissions described them as ominous. Early signals were queries and observations. Current transmissions are commands and confirmations. Whatever Atlas has been planning, it's now issuing orders to execute those plans. We're watching the transition from preparation to action. Several deployed objects have also changed orbit, moving from monitoring positions to attack positions. They're repositioning for optimal strike geometry, maximizing their ability to hit ground targets while minimizing warning time. Atlas itself has begun directing what appear to be targeting scans toward Earth. High-energy active radar sweeps focused on specific regions, dwelling longest on population centers and military installations. It's confirming target coordinates, updating its database with final pre-strike reconnaissance. Perhaps most alarming, ATLAS has begun releasing additional objects. China's tracking detected at least 30 new deployments over the past week, bringing the total weapons network to over 230 platforms. Atlas is reinforcing its capabilities right up until the moment it acts. The countdown sequences embedded in transmissions now show approximately 25 to 30 days remaining. Multiple analysis teams agree something significant will happen when that countdown reaches zero. Whether that's the beginning of attacks, the arrival of additional assets, or an ultimatum to Earth, we'll know soon. Based on China's confirmed evidence and Atlas's current trajectory, we can project what the next few weeks will likely bring. And none of it is good. In the immediate term, expect rapid military mobilization globally. Nations are already repositioning defensive assets, activating early warning systems, and placing strategic forces on high alert. The public will notice increased military activity even if governments don't explain why. Space agencies worldwide are attempting to establish communication with ATLAS, sending everything from mathematical proofs to direct pleas for dialogue. So far, ATLAS has not responded in any way that suggests interest in negotiation. The transmissions continue following their pre-programmed sequences without acknowledging Earth's attempts at contact. Emergency protocols are being activated behind the scenes. Continuity of government procedures, critical infrastructure hardening, emergency supply stockpiling, the preparations normally reserved for nuclear war scenarios are quietly being implemented for the ATLAS threat. But here's the harsh reality. We're not prepared for this. Atlas has had months to establish positions and deploy weapons while we debated its intentions. We have weeks to develop countermeasures for technology centuries ahead of ours. The asymmetry is overwhelming. Military planners are developing response scenarios, but none are particularly encouraging. Some argue for preemptive strikes against deployed objects, trying to reduce ATLAS's capabilities before it attacks. Others point out that might trigger the very assault we're trying to prevent. A few desperately hope continued communication attempts might still reach whoever controls ATLAS and avoid conflict. The most likely scenario based on China's analysis, Atlas will issue an ultimatum when its countdown reaches 0. Surrender, submit to whatever demands it makes, or face devastating attacks from an unbeatable weapons network. That's the classic invasion playbook. Establish overwhelming force, then demand compliance. Whether humanity would surrender in that scenario is unclear. Some nations might choose to submit rather than face destruction. Others might fight regardless of odds. That disagreement could fracture whatever unified human response we manage to organize. There's also a darker possibility that China's briefing hints at, but doesn't explicitly state, Atlas might not bother with ultimatums. If its mission is resource extraction or planetary terraforming, human cooperation might be irrelevant. It could simply begin systematic elimination of opposition and proceed with whatever it came to do. China's confirmation of the truth about Atlas represents the most significant revelation in human history. And it reveals that we've wasted precious time treating an invasion as a scientific curiosity. The evidence is now undeniable. ATLAS is a military asset conducting hostile operations in preparation for something catastrophic. It has deployed weapons that could devastate Earth's infrastructure and population. It has mapped our defenses and identified our vulnerabilities. It has positioned itself beyond our ability to effectively counterattack. And we have approximately 1 month before whatever it's been preparing for begins. NASA's decision to hide this information while hoping for quiet solutions has left humanity dangerously unprepared. China's decision to reveal the truth at least gives us a chance to prepare, however slim that chance might be. The coming weeks will determine whether human civilization survives as an independent entity or becomes subject to whatever power sent ATLAS. The comfortable assumption that alien contact would be peaceful and transformative has been shattered. We're facing conquest, not cooperation. Every prediction about first contact being humanity's greatest moment has proven wrong. This isn't transcendent communication between civilizations. This is invasion by a technologically superior force that's been studying us like insects before extermination. The thing nobody tells you about encountering advanced intelligence is that advancement doesn't guarantee benevolence. A civilization capable of crossing interstellar space might view lesser civilizations the way we view resources to be exploited or obstacles to be removed. Atlas's behavior suggests we're looking at the latter. China confirmed the truth NASA tried to hide. Atlas isn't a mystery, it's a threat. The weapons are deployed, the countdown continues, and humanity has less than a month to prepare for what might be our final test as a species. What do you think we should do in the next 30 days? Should we try negotiation despite no response so far? Should we attempt preemptive strikes against deployed weapons? Should we prepare for the worst while hoping for miracles? Drop your thoughts in the comments and make sure you're subscribed, because the next few weeks will determine whether human civilization survives to see next year.